They said it was going to help the little guy. They said raising wages and keeping rates high would protect the economy. But now it's all crumbling because as of this week, we have two explosive disasters colliding at once. A federal judge just moved to stop Jerome Powell's secret Fed meeting, and California's so-called compassionate wage law, it's killed over 18,000 jobs, forced mass layoffs, and triggered a wave of AI automation. And this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is documented collapse, guys. I mean, it's playing out in real time and nobody in the legacy media wants to talk about this. So today we're going to go ahead and expose everything. We're going to lay it all out. The emergency court order against the Fed. Yes, the Fed run by Jerome Powell that could shake the entire central banking system. The $3.1 billion scandal that the Trump administration just walked in on, and how a $20 minimum wage turned into a pink slip and a kiosk for thousands of working Americans. So here's what's really going to piss you off, okay? If Jerome Powell doesn't fold in 48 hours, and if other states follow California's path, we could be looking at a $1 trillion a year disaster that hits you, not the elites. So ask yourself this right now. Did this wage hike save workers, or did it just replace them with machines? And why are unelected bankers still allowed to hold secret meetings that control your mortgage, your job, and your future? Guys, we're going to go ahead and dig into the facts, the fallout, and the firestorm is really coming up next because President Trump's administration is not staying silent anymore, and neither should you. So if you appreciate the news updates, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. So ladies and gentlemen, this is not some symbolic protest. No. This is real. This is actually happening, and it's unprecedented. So a federal judge, Beryl Howell, just scheduled an emergency hearing for Monday, July 28th, one day before the Federal Reserve's next closed-door rate-setting meeting. Let me repeat that. A sitting judge has just agreed to hear a case to potentially block Jerome Powell and the Fed from meeting in secret. Why? Because the Trump administration backed legal team has launched a full-blown challenge against the Fed's federal operations, citing a violation of the government in the Sunshine State of 1976. Wow. So this act was designed to protect Americans from backroom deals and shady decisions that impact our daily lives. So why is Jerome Powell, an unelected central banker, still allowed to manipulate the cost of your mortgage, your credit cards, your business loans behind closed doors, right? So here's the real kicker. Nobody, not even the president, has legal authority to force Jerome Powell to step down, but that might be about to change. So President Donald J. Trump is not just talking, he's acting. In one of the boldest presidential moves that we've seen in decades, Trump personally visited the Fed's new $3.1 billion headquarters just weeks ago. And what did he find? A palace, a shrine of waste, a project that ballooned in cost while hardworking Americans struggle under interest rates that the Fed refuses to cut. President Trump called out the Fed's financial mismanagement, exposed the obscene cost overruns, and showed the American people exactly how the elite treat themselves while the rest of us, we got to tighten our belts. But it didn't stop there. The Trump administration now has referred Jerome Powell to the Department of Justice, accusing him of potential perjuring during testimony to Congress. Powell told Congress the president couldn't legally demote him. But under scrutiny, that statement's looking shaky at best. Let's be honest. When is the last time that anyone has held the Fed accountable, right? And maybe this is why the system is panicking, because this time they're not just facing a press conference. They're facing a courtroom and they're facing Trump. But here's where it gets even wilder. Check this out. Let's talk about the elephant in the economy. Jerome Powell's Federal Reserve has flat out refused to lower interest rates, even though inflation has cooled, even though President Trump has called repeatedly for action to relieve the pressure on working Americans. What's the cost of Jerome Powell's resistance? Brace yourself, guys. We are now on track to pay over $1 trillion in interest every year just to service the national debt. This is way more than we are spending on the military. This is more than on Medicare. This is more than any single department in government. And still, Jerome Powell sits behind closed doors. Still, the Fed refuses to answer to the public. Still, mortgage rates are stuck near 7%, pricing middle-class families out of home ownership completely. How in the world is this acceptable? Is this acceptable to you guys? I mean, like, why should you be punished with endless debt while Jerome Powell and his Fed buddies eat steak and pass notes behind a mahogany boardroom table? I mean, it's not just bad policy anymore. It's betrayal of the American people. And so this brings us to a very different kind of betrayal that's playing out in California right now. Now, you've heard the promise before, raise the minimum wage and workers will thrive, right? Well, California took that slogan and they turned it into law in April 2024, barely over a year ago, mandating a $20 per hour minimum wage for fast food workers statewide. And the result? Over 18,000 jobs gone. Let that sink in. 18,000 jobs. Now, I warned you guys, not that a lot of you guys already knew, but I warned that if they force these fast food joints to raise the minimum wage, they're going to have to either cut hours on those who are working, eliminate people, or they're going to be forced to purchase or invest in AI, robots, and automation sooner than later and eliminate the jobs entirely. And what are we seeing? Young workers, first-time job seekers, single moms, retirees, trying to make ends meet, all gone. Not because of greed, but because of not because of a recession, but because of a law that passed by politicians who've never had to meet payroll, who most of them never ever ran a successful business in their freaking lives. And here's the kicker. Even the workers who didn't lose their jobs, many of them can now barely afford the Big Mac meal that they're serving. Why? Because inflation and prices have exploded to cover the higher wage mandates. This is not a pay raise. It was a pay trap from day one. This is the illusion of progress with the reality of collapse. And it's happening right while the same people who champion this policy pretend like the data isn't right in front of them. But what's even more disturbing, we're not just seeing layoffs. We're seeing those jobs replaced, not by other humans, but by machines. That's where we're headed next, guys. Now, when it comes to Medicare, most people, they don't know that they have better options, and that ignorance is costing them real money. This is why I teamed up with Chapter. They're the most ethical, client-focused Medicare advisors that I've ever come across. Paulette Diener, she said Chapter helped her son navigate a year-long Medicare nightmare. She called him a blessing. And Linda Ortega, she said, I have great news from Chapter. They helped me save big. Now, she didn't say how much, but I'm pretty sure it was a lot. Guys, this isn't about switching for the sake of it. It is about getting help from someone who listens and actually knows the system. Call our friends at Chapter right now. Phone number is down below, 909-563-8279, or hit them up on the website at askchapter.org/Ron. Let Chapter look out for you. Now, let's be crystal clear here, guys. Automation didn't kill these jobs. Don't let them lie to you. Bad policy did. Because the moment California forced businesses to pay $20 an hour, they didn't raise prices to match. They didn't expand hiring. They went into survival mode. Chains like McDonald's, Chipotle, Subway, maybe even Chick-fil-A, they started closing stores, reducing hours, and most of all, they started installing kiosks everywhere. And here's the truth that no one in Sacramento wants to say out loud. These kiosks, they were not innovation. They were desperation. Now, I will say, and correct me if I'm wrong, I've never seen a kiosk in Chick-fil-A. Now, fast food chains now run with one human and dozens of machines. I'm talking touchscreens, self-checkout lanes, automated fryers, AI bots that never call in sick and never ask for healthcare. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like using those kiosks. Am I the only one? Let me know what you guys think on that. But if you think that this trend is slowing down, you would be wrong. California just handed automation a blank check, and now it's cashing it in across the country. One wrong policy just triggered a nationwide shift, a hard lesson that's still being ignored. So let me ask you, and we probably have thousands of people watching this show right now. I want to ask you, was your job replaced by a robot or by a politician who never ran a business? Just drop a yes or no in the comments down below. So as California bleeds these jobs, bleeds opportunity, and bleeds tax revenue, pro-growth, pro-freedom states are booming. We're talking about states like Texas, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina. They're not just waiting. They're building. They offer lower labor costs, fewer mandates, real opportunity. And guess what? Businesses are voting with their feet. They're packing up and they're leaving blue states behind. And President Donald J. Trump has made it clear, America should reward work, not punish it. and businesses that create jobs for our people are welcome here. Now, under President Trump's leadership, these states are thriving. New factories, new franchises, lower prices, more jobs. This is what happens when common sense meets real economic strategy. You want to know the wildest part here? The same companies firing Californians are opening new stores just months later in states like Florida, Texas, or Tennessee, where people are grateful to have a job and wages rise organically, not by decree. So we got to talk about the heart of this debate here. Is raising the minimum wage compassionate or is it catastrophic? And also, why is the bottom rung of the economic ladder now disappearing entirely? Are you guys seeing this? Let's talk about the moral argument that just keeps getting weaponized. They say everybody deserves a living wage. $20 an hour is the least we can do. But here's the hard truth. That kind of thinking feels good until the pink slip comes. You raise wages by law instead of growth, and then businesses cut staff, they raise prices, or they leave. And then what happens next? Thousands of workers go from earning a wage to earning nothing. This isn't theoretical. It's literally playing out right now. People who once had a foot on the first rung of the ladder, they now see the ladder yanked out from under them. So I worked at a fast food chain back in the day, one of my first jobs, fast food, and I moved up. I learned discipline, showed up on time, and built a career. Versus, I just graduated, nobody will hire me. The kiosk doesn't care what I studied. Guys, the intention may have been good, but the consequences, they're devastating. And so here's where it gets even worse. You can't fix a broken ladder by cutting off the bottom, but this is exactly what California did. Don't let the truth get buried, guys. My breaking news newsletter hits your inbox first. Join my free breaking newsletter. I've left a link for you in the pinned comment down below. Do not miss this opportunity to get the news before mainstream media tries to lie to you. All right. I want you to ask yourself this. Why do 7 people in Washington get to decide what your mortgage costs while you have no say-so whatsoever? Does that sound fair to you? Well, this is what the Federal Reserve Board of Governors does, and they do it every few weeks. And they do it in secret meetings, behind closed doors, with zero input from the American people. And now that Trump's administration is calling them out, the Fed is scrambling, refusing to operate, resisting subpoenas, insisting on their independence. Independence from what, though? Accountability? Democracy? Reality? Because while they fiddle with rates, families are losing their homes. Small businesses are shutting down, and workers can't afford to borrow a dime. Meanwhile, the Fed employs 26,000 people funded by you, yet answers to no one, not Congress, not the president, not the courts, until now. So now, for the first time in over a century, a federal judge is forcing the Fed to defend its secrecy in court. And President Trump is leading the charge to return economic power back to the American people. So let me go ahead and say this again. Donald J. Trump is the first president since the Fed's creation in 1913 to challenge its grip on the U.S. economy head on. Isn't that wild? This is historic, guys. So while Jerome Powell clings to power, while blue states collapse under the weight of their own economic fantasies, the American people are moving quietly, strategically. Gold has surged nearly 29% in 2025. Silver is flirting with 14-year highs. Mining stocks are up 60% in some cases. Why? Because Americans no longer trust the institutions that claimed to protect them. Guys, so there's a reason for this, all right? Now, for far too long, the elite has operated in shadows. The Fed manipulation, fiddling with your money in secret, politicians wrecking jobs while pretending to care, blue states pushing fantasy policies that sound generous, but they deliver destruction, and you are expected to just shut up and pay the price. But no more, guys, because President Donald J. Trump has made it clear. We're going to open the books. We're going to expose the lies, and we're going to return this economy to the people that it belongs to, you. Now, we have a federal judge putting the Fed on notice. We have real data exposing California's wage disaster. We have a nation waking up, investing smarter, and fighting harder. This isn't just a movement. This is a new thread within America, guys. The Fed's days of secrecy are numbered. The era of performative policies is dying, and a new era of economic truth, growth, and freedom is rising. So ask yourself, will you just keep letting these unelected bankers and clueless politicians run your life? Or will you stand with the Americans and the president who are finally fighting back? Now, if you're ready for the truth, if you're ready for freedom, Don't just watch. Join the fight, share this message, leave your comment down below, and subscribe for more, because this story is not over. It is just the beginning. We'll see you on the next video.